I'm Marcus Richardson.
And I'm Nathan Hicken.
And we are thrilled to have some guests at the Murder Museum today. We have PG Law and David Spira. Welcome, guys. Super happy to have you here.
Thank you for having us. Thrilled to be murdered or solve a murder. I'm not sure which direction this will go.
Yeah, it's very murdery. It's very murdery in here. I love it.
I feel at home.
That is sort of our shtick. Yeah. We haven't branched out to other crimes. Murder is still kind of our home base.
Yeah.
Yeah, we love it here.
In case any of our listeners are not familiar with your guys' amazing work, tell us about what you guys do.
About 11 years ago, I co-founded a website called RoomEscapeArtist.com. We've been covering the escape room industry, writing reviews, tips for players, tracking the growth of the industry, running a convention, and then back during all the lockdown times, I started a podcast called The Reality Escape Pod with the lovely PG Law.
Yes, I have you beat because 15 years ago, I was on a reality show called Survivor. And that's how I met David. He interviewed me about it, and we just started talking about escape rooms, and we could not stop. And that's what we kept doing all these years later. We just interviewed different immersive creators on Reality Escape Pod, our main podcast. And then we recently just launched a new show called PG's Playhouse. It is kind of more of a game show style format where I create puzzles. We have guests on. We'll have you guys coming on. And then we also will be discussing a topic like an interesting trivia or things like that. So it's a lot of fun.
That's awesome. I can't imagine a better "so how do you guys know each other" story than what you guys have.
Thanks. We literally met on someone else's podcast and then started making our own together.
I think we talked for like 2 hours that day. And and like many recorded hours later, still going strong somehow.
Oh, man. Well, you guys sound like the perfect team to join us to tackle some more mini murders.
Now you're putting some pressure on because we're about to make some big messes here, but we should have fun while we're doing it.
Oh yeah.
Excellent. Well, we still have a backlog of some mini murders and mini mysteries that our listeners have sent in. So we're excited to tackle some of those today. I'll be reading the first one, and I will also be privy to the solution. So I will not be solving the mystery, but I will be reading it. And let's get started. Let's do it. This is a bit of a longer one from Miranda, and feel free to read along. This is in the mini mysteries thread chat. What do you call that? Thread on our Discord. Here we go.
I'm so excited.
October 4th, 8:32 a.m. "Fiddlesticks," said Detective James Rossi as he exited his car and immediately stepped in a puddle from the previous night's rainstorm. "No, don't write that part down," he said, holding up a hand to stop the new recruit, Ellie Hecht, who was shadowing him and taking notes on everything he did. "Sorry, sir." The pair entered Pottsfield High School and were immediately taken aback by the sheer number of banners and homemade poster board signs. "Romeo and Juliet, opening night, 10-3 at 7 p.m. and "Go Pythons, beat the Spartans, game Thursday," and "Homecoming this weekend, do you have your ticket?" Question mark, exclamation point, question mark. "Is this making you nostalgic, Hecht?" Detective Rossi asked, watching Ellie write too many exclamation points on her notepad. "Not particularly, sir," she said. "I didn't have the best time in high school," she added quietly. "You don't say," James muttered. The two were greeted by Officer Alice Krause, who led them to the second floor where the victim's office was located. The hallway appeared relatively clean aside from a neat set of muddy sneaker prints that led from the stairs to a locker bank and then continued down the hall. "Victim's name is Mr. Riley," Alice explained. "He teaches computer programming here." She consulted her notes. C++, it looks like, and I guess he has a reputation for being something of a hard-ass. He was found this morning at 5 by the custodian, but estimated time of death is yesterday evening between 7 and 10 p.m. That's when the play and the football game both ended, and the school was locked up. No signs of a break-in. The custodian swears he didn't touch anything. He saw the lights were on and was surprised to see someone here so early. A gruesome sight greeted them immediately upon entering. Mr. Riley was slumped forward in his office chair, which faced away from the door. In front of him was his desk and computer, which were set up against the back wall with a window overlooking the football field. The victim's hands were positioned near his neck, which made sense because a rope was wrapped around it. Detective Rossi nudged the mouse on the computer and it woke from sleep mode. Open on the screen was a code compiler. Print, in quotes, help me. Looks like he knew he might be in trouble. Do we have any idea who could have been up here? Asked Detective Rossi. A few people were at the school last night. It was opening night of the school play, and there was a football game. Ellie chimed in. Even with the storm? Yeah, interesting thing, Alice went on. The play and the football game both began, but around 8 p.m., the power went out for about 5 minutes. Around the same time, there was a delay in the game for lightning, but they were able to continue shortly after that. Once the power came back, so did the play. Everyone says it went off without a hitch. The show must go on, I guess. Detective Rossi rubbed his chin. So it could have been anybody. Maybe, but maybe not. Most everybody was on the first floor where the auditorium is, or outside. Interestingly, only the security camera in the west stairwell was operating continuously. It caught 3 students walking up to the second floor during the time frame in question, all at separate times. Leon Kowalski, Sally Liu, and Carlos Vasquez, Alice reported. All 3 were Mr. Riley's students, and he'd given them all detention in the past week. The 3 students were brought in for questioning. Leon Kowalski was first. He was tall and clad in a football jersey. What do you mean, where was I? I was at the football game. I'm the star quarterback. But you weren't starting last night. Leon frowned. I would be, but Mr. Riley flunked me on my last programming test, so I've been relegated to second string. But why would I kill him for that? It's not like I'm benched forever. Besides, the team still needed me. They could call me in at any point, which they did, by the way. After the game delay, they finally saw sense. Then why were you seen coming inside? I left my Lucky Charm in my locker. I ran up during the lightning delay to grab it and made it back just in time since Coach decided to put me in. Guess your charm worked then. Sally Liu was next. She seemed unusually chipper despite the circumstances. I was running lights for the school play. The cast was amazing. They put on the perfect show. Even with the power outage? Well, besides that, once we got power back, we picked it back up like nothing had happened. So why did you come to the second floor? The auditorium is on the first. Sally groaned. Okay, look. When the power was out, there wasn't really anything for me to do, right? Mr. Riley confiscated my phone during class, and I just wanted to get it back. My dad was going to kill me. She gulped. Poor word choice, sorry. So you were in his office? Yeah, but he wasn't even in there. This was during the power outage, but I had the flashlight that I used during the production. The door was open. He keeps confiscated phones in a basket on a table right next to the door. She paused. This isn't the first time he's taken my phone. I just grabbed it and left. Carlos Vasquez was last. He was a bright student and generally neatly dressed, though his shoes were caked with dry mud. I'm the editor of the school newspaper. I was supposed to just cover the play, but our sports reporter was out sick, so I had to cover the football game too. Nobody else could fill in? Nobody else agreed to, and as the editor, it's my duty, he said proudly. I'm sick of asking this question, but if you were so busy, why did you come up to the second floor? Well, as you probably know, the power went out, and the football game was delayed for a bit. It was a zoo out there, but I realized I forgot my camera in my locker, so I used that opportunity to run up here and grab it, so I could at least get a few pictures. Notice anything weird while you were up here? Not really. The power had just come on, so I walked pretty quickly. Just went to my locker and down the other way towards the auditorium. I got some great pictures of both the game and the play, though. After questioning the students, Detective Rossi turned to Ellie. I guess we should bring them all in. Nobody else can account for them during that time, and somebody must be lying to us. Maybe not, Ellie replied after a bit of thought. I think we can save some time and just focus on the one student. Who did Ellie want to interrogate further? Wow, that was a bit longer than I thought. Thank you for listening to my voice that long. That is the most monologue I think we've ever had on the podcast.
Yeah.
It's great though, Miranda. Nothing against you.
There's a lot going on here. I have a lot of thoughts. I'm curious, PG, where is your head at?
I felt like I should have been taking notes because there is so much going on. You know, I fully expected this to be like an Encyclopedia Brown thing where it was going to be about like the thunder woke me up and then I saw something, but we all know the lightning, lightning comes first and then thunder, but it's not that at all. So now I'm like totally confused on where to start.
Yep.
The first thing that jumped out at me was the mud. That from the because I guess that's the first thing that felt like a clue, and then it's the last thing we heard is one of the students had muddy shoes. So I guess I kind of wanted to start there and see what you guys thought of this.
Muddy shoes is definitely one of the things.
Yeah.
What are you thinking, Nathan?
Oh, I noticed that as well but I'm wondering if the muddy, so we have the muddy footprints that they're on the hallway. They lead to the locker bank and then continue down the hall. So that was definitely what was his name? Carlos. But did the shoe prints lead to the office, or is the office further down the hall, or does that exonerate him because there's no footprints?
Well, it just says down the hall, and then
Yeah.
he said he had to go to his locker to get his camera, which does align with the footprints. He's the one with the muddy shoes. And then what did he say he did after he grabbed his camera? He just went back outside?
It sounds like he went a different direction than he came in,
Down the other way towards the auditorium.
where he got photos of both the play and the game, which, assuming that those are all facts that would be verifiable because he would have the photos, that would be at the very least taking up a good amount of time.
True, because the play was at 7 p.m., and then we don't have a time for the game. I'm guessing it's just at the same time.
We don't have a time for the game. Some of the other details that are jumping out at me, one is C++. It's been a long, long time. But I'm pretty sure, so print would mean that you're just making the program display the words, help me. Having a compiler open would mean that after the power outage, the power would have had to have come back on, and that computer would have had to have been restarted, and at the very least, compiler would have had to have been opened. So that's, I don't know. I don't know why that immediately jumped out at me, but I don't know where it's going.
That's true, because they said that the play and the football game both began, I'm assuming at 7 then, but at 8 o'clock, the power went out for 5 minutes. And at the exact same time, there was a delay in the game for lightning. And so the power came back on, the play went on, and then also, like, I guess the game went on also. But you're right, David. Doesn't that mean that if the power went out, the computer would have restarted or, like, gone out also, we're assuming?
I would assume that.
I would also assume that if you're being choked to death with the rope, it's hard to type "help me" in coherent
That
letters.
is also a factor. Also, can we just talk for a second about, like, so Mr. Riley here is really punitive.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing, I'm guessing based off of the current state of the American education system, he's teaching an elective. Like, come on, man.
Oh, that's another note. Like, he took away what's her name? Sally's phone, and she went to pick it up from his office. Was he killed in his office?
It sounded
And
like
she
it.
didn't see him in there?
Unless she did it.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, our star football player seems remarkably well adjusted, like completely okay with the fact that he was suspended. And
Relegated to
Yep.
second string.
yeah, a very well adjusted football player. Respect to you, my friend.
I want to know what his lucky charm is, too.
Me too.
On that note, is it weird that people just carry around rabbit's feet on their keychains? Like an actual rabbit's foot?
I don't think anyone would debate you. So that's kind of odd.
It's definitely an odd cultural choice
Yeah.
that we make.
I was just thinking about this because I literally bought a dehydrated rabbit's foot for my dog as like a snacky.
Oh.
And I got it in the mail and I was like, this looks exactly like keychains that people just carry around. And then I was just thinking, it's really bizarre that people carry around
Yeah.
like a dead body part for a good luck charm, but here we are.
And now you have a lucky dog.
So I've heard a lot of good thoughts. Me having the solution here in front of me.
Oh yes.
I will say, I'm assuming no one here has any intimate knowledge of C++.
I
I have like negative knowledge of that.
I'd
probably.
actually,
So,
yeah, same.
I used to have quite a bit of knowledge of C++, but it has been a very painfully long time.
That is okay. I don't think we mentioned this to you, but at some point when we asked listeners to make mysteries for us, we were like, you know what's also fun is when people use really specific knowledge that they have and make one of these mysteries. And a few people took us up on that, which is really on us for asking for it.
Hold on. Give me a second on this.
This is all you, David.
I'm not convinced. Actually, print is a command in a lot of programming languages, but I don't know if it is one in C++.
Oh.
Interesting.
So are we thinking couldn't be the jock because he flunked out? Wouldn't even know how to make that appear on a computer screen. Is that the thought process here?
Well, here's a
Or-
question, David. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Nathan.
I was gonna say, or if it's the opposite, where he doesn't know C++, so he types the command print, thinking, "Oh yeah, I got it, nailed it," and then because since he flunked, that's actually wrong, and so that's what proves he did it.
So here's a question. If hypothetically it wasn't a C++ command, what other languages might use print?
I think a whole bunch of them do. I know Python does.
The
team is the Pythons.
Yes, yeah.
The team is the Pythons because it was Go Pythons beat the Spartans. Side note, Spartans are just a dramatically overrated civilization. Like they barely existed, and we only care about them because a guy made a comic book and then another guy made a movie. Dramatically overrated. But so Go Pythons beat the Spartans.
So are we assuming that the football player knows Python because he's a Python?
I don't know what the connection is.
Is that how knowledge works?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
That's definitely how you learn how to code. All right. I want to look at the details of the murder because we actually talked like not at all about the murder. So he was
Oh yeah.
looking out a window.
Overlooking the football field.
Okay.
Mm.
So he knew that our suspiciously well-adjusted football player was playing because he would have seen him out the window.
Well, he was benched, wasn't he?
In the first half, or before the lightning
Okay.
or the power outage.
Okay, is this weird that the football player ran up to grab his lucky charm because he was not starting, right? So, and he said that he didn't even know that he had gotten put back in until he says, I made it back just in time since coach decided to put me in. Does that imply that like he didn't even know he was going to be playing until he got back?
Yeah.
There's that. There's also like the suspicious athletes that I have known always get ready for games in exactly the same way every time. So I would be surprised if he was, suiting up and getting ready for a game and not having everything together, especially a quarterback.
And I'd also be surprised that his Lucky Charm's in his school locker, not his football locker.
Are we warm at all? Are we
So-
frigid? It's totally frozen over here.
What's the temperature like at this game?
So Miranda has constructed a really fleshed out world here. So it feels like, unlike certain Encyclopedia Brown things where it's like, oh, there's the one linchpin, and if you got it, you got it. It does feel like there's a bit of room here for like this suspicions and logic and general vibes. I think that there are some specifics here that you may not arrive at, and I think that it might be enough just to kind of put your suspicions on one, and then we can find out what the reasoning is.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know. Is that a cop out? I'm saying that you've shared some good thoughts.
You're saying we're not even close, is what you're saying.
That's
You're saying that we have named every single detail that is completely inconsequential, is what I've heard.
I wouldn't say that exactly. I almost just want to read the answer so you guys can talk with me about the
Gotcha.
answer rather than me being the gatekeeper of knowledge and lore here. I mean I am hearing more suspicion on certain people than others. So like if you guys can kind of point a finger, maybe we can go from there.
I mean, I don't think it's Carlos Vasquez, our editor, because he was wearing muddy shoes, and there's no way he didn't know his shoes were muddy, and there's no way he's walking to that office and to his locker and then elsewhere, leaving a whole bunch of tracks, knowing full well that he just murdered someone. Like, I just...
Yeah.
Unless this is like a crime of passion, and these kinds of mysteries are never like, oh, it was spontaneous murder. This is always very, like, this stuff is usually pretty premeditated. So I don't feel like he is the guy. Then there's the other one. I don't even remember what was her deal. Sally Lou.
She went to go get her phone.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
She was and she was trying to fix the power, I guess. She handles electricity.
Right.
Or handles power, and then while she was there, she decided to go sneak in and pick up her phone. So that was also the weird thing too, right? Like, wouldn't she have like crept into his office?
Yeah. But she didn't see him.
There's that. Also, assuming that Mr. Riley typed the message himself, then he would have been alive after the power was brought back on.
Yes. And she's
Yes.
saying that he wasn't in there when she went.
Right.
It could be because the power goes out and then the lightning happens after the power goes out, because it said then there was a lightning delay afterwards. So what if the power comes back on and then the lightning delay happens, and that's when Leon goes in?
I think that's right. I think because we've had no mention of any of all of these people were in his class, but they're learning C++. They're not learning Python.
Yes.
So what if the code was a message typed by Mr. Riley trying to clue that it was Leon because of the Python thing?
Oh, I like that.
But
Why not just type on Leon did it?
Wait. I will throw. I've been thinking about this too. Like, if Mr. Riley typed it, why didn't he? It's because if you were murdered and you saw someone type something, you would backspace, and you would get rid of it if it was in the last moment. That is my justification for that. But
Are you confirming?
Would you like me to?
If that is not insane, then I would like at least some, because I feel like I'm on a limb.
You are on the right track.
I'm on the right limb. Exciting.
I guess I'm confused because it said that it said on the screen it was like print and then in parentheses quotations help me. So is help me on the screen, or I'm not really sure what was meant by that.
Oh, so I might have been wrong. My logic and justification might have been wrong. But disregard what I was saying. You are on the right track. There was a message left, and I think that you were onto something with what it meant.
Yes. So Riley was trying to give us a clue to the murderer's identity, which is Leon, because he's a Python.
Okay, I'm happy to go with that since I have negative knowledge about coding and programming. So.
This is all David.
All right. Let us explore together what the solution is. I shall read it for us now. Solution. Ellie wants to question Leon further. The victim's computer was on when the detective looked at it, so the victim must have been alive after the power outage ended for him to turn it back on and type his message. Since the play began and went off without a hitch, right after the outage with no delays, Sally would have needed to be there to get back to running the lights. The muddy sneaker prints went straight to the locker and then straight down the hall to the other stairwell. They must have belonged to Carlos. They were too perfect to suggest that he took off his shoes and put them back on at any point. Leon was outside as well, but he would have been wearing cleats since he was playing in the game. If he'd kept his cleats on, which he didn't, he would have left the same type of shoe print. Leon was playing in the football game, and the field was visible from Mr. Riley's office. Leon noticed that the lights were on in the office and figured since everyone there was so busy, he'd have an opportunity during the game delay to exact his revenge. He entered the school, removed his cleats, did the murder, then hurried back to the game, hoping no one had noticed he left in all the chaos. Mr. Riley also left a clue in his message. It stands to reason that since his desk faced the window, he would have been able to see the intruder reflected in it since it was dark out and the lights were on in his office. Thinking quickly, he typed out his message in code. Even though he taught C++, he chose the language Python, hoping to point investigators in the direction of the thing he last saw. Leon's Pottsfield Pythons football jersey.
All right. I feel like, you know what? I feel like we kind of got a few of the details.
Oh, yeah.
We got there.
That's totally
Mostly
win.
David.
Yes.
I feel like we were in the ballpark. Also, not a well-adjusted football player.
Nope.
I retract the compliment.
Oh, never trust a
That, you know what?
well-adjusted
That
football
was
player.
the first suspicion. that was the first suspicious thing that we noticed, actually.
It's true.
I think you guys got there. I think you guys should be proud of yourselves.
That was a
It was a
journey.
doozy.
That was a
Yeah.
journey.
Yeah, I enjoy nitpicking through the details.
Yeah,
so.
that was the like throwing the ring into the volcano of many mysteries.
Yeah, it's like we almost have to change Minnie. It's funny. Miranda even apologizes underneath. Or, yeah, she says, "Oh, whoops, I just saw I was supposed to do 3 to 5 paragraphs. Well, I'm not deleting it." So, I mean, good on her. We did
Fair
get
enough.
around to solving it.
It's
Um,
great.
Yeah, good job, Miranda.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
got
thank you
there.
so much.
Thank you.
Really well written. Had a great time with it.
Heck yeah. I also love the Pottsfield Pythons. Pottsfield, I think that's over the garden wall, but
Yeah,
Mm.
great reference.
fantastic.
Wow. Well, consider that the main course. And these ones are more like desserts. We have 2 more that we're going to tackle today. David, would you be down to read our next mystery from Xerox Girl?
Absolutely. Let's see what Xerox Girl has in store for you. Detective Fitzpatrick scrolled back the video to the critical moment, Saturday at 11 p.m., and closely looked. The security camera footage showed the missing man open the front door of his house to a hooded figure that stood with its back to the camera in the moonlit porch. Next, the man sat down on a bench by the door, carefully put on and tied his left shoe and then his right, stood up and put his hat and his coat on, grabbed his wallet from the same bench, and put it in his chest pocket. Then he put his fingers to his mouth before gently touching the object fixed to the door frame and walked outside, closing and locking the door behind him and slipping the keys into his coat pocket. "I still don't see why you're concerned, Mrs. Weiss," said Detective Fitzpatrick. "Your husband is an adult and left the house of his own volition. We can't declare him missing after only 3 days." "I disagree," said the woman. "I think he was kidnapped. Why does Mrs. Weiss suspect there was something nefarious about her husband's disappearance?"
Ooh, I like this premise.
Dang, yeah.
Yeah, what are your initial thoughts, Nathan?
Oh gosh, there's a lot of we get every single movement, which is suspicious. Also, the suspicious hooded figure that alone would, I think, make me question what's going on here, especially since we never see the person's face and they never seem to move. They just stand there.
So I guess what I'm wondering is, okay, let's go back through the events, because what we see is that the husband, the man that's missing, opens the front door and there is a hooded figure there. Now the hooded figure puts his shoes on, puts on his hat and his coat, grabs his wallet, and then touches his fingers to his mouth and touches something on the door frame and then leaves and locks the door. And I assume at this point the man who's missing is still in the house. We've not,
Oh,
you know, so this is just something weird that's happened. And then later and then it sounds like later the husband left
Oh.
and then just didn't come back for 3 days. Am I getting it right? Is
So
that
there are There are two characters here. There is the missing man and there is the hooded figure. Those are two different people. And the description that you're getting of all of the different actions of kind of dressing themselves, that is the missing man's actions.
Okay,
Just
that
to
helps.
clarify and make sure. So I would say
Oh, okay.
mostly the hooded figure is a hooded figure. And all of those other descriptions that you're hearing pertain to the missing man.
All right. I have two theories. One is there's something to do with like he did something that no one would ever do, which shows
Yeah.
like, oh, something's wrong. The other is these actions are a series of things that spell out a message. where
Yeah,
it's
I
like,
was.
touching
Yep.
your coat means this. Wallet means
Mhm.
grab. That'd be way cool. I just don't know where to start if that was it. Like
Oh, I was
bench,
thinking.
like sitting on a
yeah.
bench. Does that mean something? Like bench, tied, left, right.
Yeah. For anybody who's at home and can't see, I'm repeatedly touching my fingers to my face and then like punching it out like I'm trying to see what gesture
Oh,
that
I was
would
thinking like
look like.
YMCA letters, like he's spelling something out, like help.
Yes. Okay.
That could be interesting. So, maybe I'm misunderstanding this. His wallet was on the bench and he grabbed
Yeah.
it from off the bench. Does it say he put it down?
He grabbed it from he grabbed it from the bench and put it into which pocket did he put it in?
His chest pocket, which would cross your hand in a way that means something. One might.
Is this like a puzzle? Like he's tying his left shoe and then the right shoe is he making like the
Yeah,
letter
yeah.
M? You
I will
know?
say this. You are on the right track that he is signaling something by way of the order that he is doing things. The signal that he is sending is not what you are thinking. I will also
Okay.
say in the previous mini mystery, you suggested to your audience that they dig deep into
Oh no.
a specific subset of knowledge that they have, and this is a deep dive.
Oh wow. Oh man. So I feel glee in being able to learn something new and dread about I won't figure it out. That is
Is this a type of code though, David? Is it,
It
like
is
a
not
type
a
of cipher or
cipher.
code?
It is not
or
a code.
No?
the Weiss family are famously semaphore enthusiasts.
What do you know about the
And-
name Weiss?
Oh, really? Really?
Weiss. What does that name ring any bells for anybody?
Yes. But
What would it tell you?
they're German?
Go deeper here. There's a what is there a subset of German peoples?
East Germans? West Germans?
What?
Swiss?
Swiss Germans?
Weiss. Why do I
Subset.
recognize Weiss?
Can you name any maybe anyone famous who
Edelweiss?
Edelweiss is wonderful, but
Could they be Jewish?
they in fact
they
could be.
be Jewish. Okay.
Oh.
Oh shoot. Oh no, this is like ritualistic how you prepare yourself for your
Oh.
day. This is
Yeah,
religious.
you're there. You're as close to this as I believe you are going to get.
Well, that's comforting. Would it be best if we don't put a shot in the like it's got to be like it's always the right foot first. You never tie your left shoe first.
You're basically you're there. This is
nice
this
job.
is some very observant Jews. This is on the ultra observant end of things. Make sure to put on their shoes in a specific order. First the right and then the left, and then after that they tie their shoelaces on the left and then on the right. By not doing that, the man who knew he was being filmed by this knew that he
Mm.
was signaling to his wife that the person at the door was pointing a gun at him and forcing him to come quietly.
Ah.
Wow.
Wow.
Nice
This
job,
is
Marcus.
extremely specific knowledge. I was on a trivia game show once, and I had to answer 10 questions in order. I had one pass, and the question I used my one pass on was, what is a mensch?
I gotta say, I really like this. I like how simple it is. I feel like this is really close to being like a lateral style question. Man.
Yeah, so I know nothing about programming. I know nothing about religious rituals. And then I also know nothing about sports, which is what I'm expecting the last one to probably be about. So we'll go 3 for 3.
Xerox Girl, thank you so much for putting us to the test using some very specific cultural knowledge, which I really enjoyed. Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
That was really cool. Glad I got to read that one.
Awesome. Well, I think we have one more we're going to tackle today. This is going to be another mystery from Hy Conrad, the wonderful murder mystery author. We have done mysteries from him before. And PG, are you up to reading this one for us?
Yes, absolutely.
I actually gave you the chance to choose. So which one did you choose of his many mysteries?
So all of them were super, super cute. And I ended up picking Death of a Swinger. Ooh, cue the jazzy music.
Ooh. I hope for clarity very soon here on what kind of swinger we're talking about.
Electrocuted by shag carpet.
All right, here we go. We had an abandoned quarry just like this back home. Despite the tragic scene, Sherman couldn't repress a smile. The local swimming hole. I remember being a kid and swinging on a rope, Tarzan style, just like this poor fellow. His wistful tone contrasted sharply with the bloody, broken body just in front of him. The deceased was a youth of about 20, wearing swim trunks and lying on a granite slab a dozen feet from the edge of a deep, clear pool. Wreathing the body was a 30-foot length of rope. Sergeant Wilson lifted the corpse to reveal the rope's freshly severed end. See? The rope was cut halfway through, then torn the rest of the way. He held the body up as Sherman inspected the rope, then settled the body back down on top of it. This was a murder. Both men turned and looked up the sheer rock face. 60 feet above them was the cliff on which Bobby Fix had stood. Even from here, Sherman could see the other end of the rope, tied to the branch of a towering pine. The 10-foot section swayed gently in the summer breeze. Looks pretty obvious, Wilson said. Our Mr. Fix swings out on the rope, just like he's done 100 times before. Only this time, someone's cut through it. Instead of swinging into the water, he falls straight down, taking this useless piece of rope with him. Isn't this area private property? Asked Sherman. Yup, said Wilson. Owned by Midlands Granite. Fix and his college buddies rent an off-campus house just over the ridge. Let's go pay him a visit. They found the 3 college juniors sitting in stunned silence on the porch of a tattered cabin. Sergeant Wilson checked his notes. Thad Killian? You actually saw it happen? Yeah. The short blonde boy on the porch swing nodded his head. I was hiking along the ridge a couple 100 yards from the cliff. I saw Bobby. He grabbed the rope and took a running start. As soon as he cleared the edge, the rope broke. He screamed, and then there was this thud instead of a splash. I came right back here and called 911. I heard the scream too, said a tall, burly redhead. I'm Rick Dawson. I was walking on the road by the barbed wire fence. I figured the scream must have come from the swimming quarry. That's the only reason anybody goes there. I hopped the fence and found his body a few minutes later. I didn't touch anything. Forensics will know if you did, the sergeant said curtly. He approached the 3rd student. You must be Julio Mendez. Right, answered the last roommate. I was supposed to go swimming with Bobby today, but I fell asleep. Thad woke me after he called 911. He shivered. I used that rope swing as much as Bobby. It could have been me dying like that. Wilson took his friend aside. This could be a hard one, Sherman. We don't even know if Fix was the intended target. Whoever saw through that rope is right here on this porch. I don't know what the motive was, but one of Fix's roommates is definitely lying. Who killed Bobby Fix? And what gave the killer away?
So our detective definitely contaminated this crime scene by going and moving the body immediately
sure.
upon walking there.
Okay, well, a quick note. The name Fix has 2 X's, which is unfamiliar to me, but super cool. And one of the roommates does have Kill in their name. Also just putting that out there. Thad Killian.
I mean, it's in his name.
I mean, look, my name is David McMurderson. That doesn't mean I've gone and killed a whole bunch of people.
I'm sorry to profile you like that.
I'm so sorry. I am so sorry.
Okay, well, I mean, here's something. Rick Dawson, he was by a barbed wire fence and then he hopped the barbed wire fence. That's sketchy.
I do have a theory.
It's also impressive.
Yes.
Yeah. It just shows what a go-getter he is.
Yeah.
Okay, I need some help seeing if this checks out, but this tree is 60 feet tall. The rope was 30 feet in length.
Oh, a math problem. Oh, no.
So I'm thinking it's unclear to me. Maybe it says where the rope is severed. Maybe there's still room for it. But if it's a possibility that he never swung at all, then I think that the person who said that he swung would be implicated by that. If the full length of the rope was only 30 feet, then it was tossed after him and they did not measure the length of the tree.
So I don't think it was tossed after him. And I think the thing that's ringing to me as the key to this is that the first thing the detective did was pick up the body to look at the rope that was underneath the body. So like somehow they fell and the rope that would have been above him ended up underneath him. So I think that's I don't know what that means, but that's the part of it that feels like it immediately made the detective take action.
Oh, that is interesting. I thought maybe there's a possibility of them like rolling or stuff, but that is pretty odd to find a severed end underneath the corpse.
I have no idea what that means other than I guess someone I guess maybe someone must have cut it.
You guys are on the right track.
I just don't know why he would have then swung from it if like it was already dangling, or I don't know how to pull it together.
All right. Well, so one of these people did it, right? Rick just heard the scream. Killian says, I saw Bobby. He grabbed the rope and took a running start. I think I'm sticking with my rope theory. I feel like usually in these kind of things, you got to look for the details that are specific. And the specific details I'm seeing are, this is a 30-foot rope. So I'm thinking that someone pushed him off a cliff and then tucked a rope with him that was severed. Specifically, Mr. Killian, nothing to do with his name.
That seems plausible. We don't have a lot in the way of like exploration of motives here.
Mm-hmm.
There is, I will say that I don't think the motive is apparent in this story.
But there is a motive.
You're saying that we wouldn't be able to figure it out. That's not what we're trying to solve.
Yes. It's like backstory, but
Okay.
it's not going to be, the motive doesn't come into play here.
The rope would have to be under the body pretty soon, so he couldn't plant it afterwards because Rick finds the body a few minutes later after the scream. I guess it could be not.
It could be tied to him, like if you tied a rope to someone and then tossed him.
That's true. It could also be a Thad just faking a scream.
Oh, interesting.
I think he definitely, like, it strikes me as he must have fallen to his death. He wasn't
Yeah.
hung,
No.
and so he may have been thrown, or the rope may have been weakened, but then it would have fallen on him. So the rope was underneath to begin with, or put there after the fact.
Uh-huh.
Are you guys ready to submit? Is that
I'm happy to submit Thad Killian. did it, and the way that you
Yes.
can tell is from the rope.
Okay.
That's mine locked in.
And I'm happy to submit Thad Killian also because of the rope, and there's the word "kill" in his name.
Oh, hey, look how you come around. Look, you see the
Join our
truth.
ranks. Yes.
You guys are extremely close. I think there's just one tiny little smidgen of a detail that's probably not even that important, but if you want the full solution, if you want to figure out the full solution, how do we know it was that though?
I'm just operating on. He says that he saw the rope swing happen, but it couldn't have happened.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, that
So
makes sense.
I will read
Okay,
the
go for it.
solution. Did you fellows all get along? Sherman asked in his most innocuous of tone. Was Bobby a good friend? The roommates exchanged glances. Well, Julio hummed. Bobby had this habit of stealing girls. He never messed with my Angie, but I heard from other guys. He got this perverse pleasure from going after
It was the
girls
other
who were
kind of
already
swinger.
dating.
It's a pun.
Hi, Conrad.
Oh
You-
my
you mad lad.
gosh.
I doubt that was true, said Thad Killian. Just gossip, you know? Then why did you kill him? Asked Sherman. Thad chuckled. What do you mean? You killed him, Thad. You cut the rope and threw it off the cliff. Then, when Bobby showed up to swim, you pushed him off the cliff. Thad stopped chuckling. That's ridiculous. Your story's ridiculous. Bobby didn't swing on the rope as you said. If he had, the severed rope end would have landed on top of his body or beside it. But the rope end was found underneath him. He couldn't have been swinging on it when he fell.
Wow. Well,
Nice job.
that was awesome. I really liked that.
Good
I think
job.
maybe I was just off with the 30-foot, 60-foot thing. I think that you were more right, David, with the end of the rope.
It struck me as the first thing that the detective went and moved around the body.
Looked for.
David, solving murders is a missed calling for
Yay.
you.
I'd like to thank my 8th grade teacher for making us solve riddles a lot.
Oh man. I also had a cool 8th grade teacher that did riddles. That's wild.
LOL, same. Yeah.
Yeah. 8th grade science.
Yeah. Science class. I don't know why.
I don't know either. We really should have been doing other things.
I will say that the most memorable takeaway from my 8th grade teacher was he constantly railed against credit card debt. And to this day, I've been very good about not letting it like balloon out of control because he constantly was like, it's not free. When you get a credit card when you're 20, you're going to think it's free money and it's not. He's like, do not go into credit card debt. And thank you, Mr. Lehner. I have carried this lesson with me to this day.
And now you carry it to our listeners. They can also be smart shoppers.
Exactly. There you go. And do no murdering.
Oh, that too.
Also good.
This is
motto
a
to live by.
positive values show.
Yes.
The more you know.
The moral of today's episode was
I thoroughly enjoyed that. That was a lot of fun. And I feel
Yeah.
like we did get some good variety, both in types of solutions and in length in those 3 mysteries.
yeah.
That was a ton of fun. Thank you.
You guys are clearly experts when it comes to puzzles and such. A lot of fun to listen to. I am excited to listen to more of your podcasts, and I hope that my listeners, our listeners, do the same.
Thank you
Yes.
so much.
Yes, thank you. So, yeah, if you love escape rooms or any kind of immersive event, you should definitely check out Reality Escape Pod, especially if you're interested in kind of the design aspect of it. And if you like trivia and puzzles of that variety, then go to PG's Playhouse, where it's more of a fun game show style format. We'd love to have you check us out.
The shows couldn't be more different from each other.
Yeah, one is David hosting and the other one is me hosting. So they're like 2 different. I mean, there are different vibes that kind of work together. It's like oil and water, but it makes a delicious dressing.
Oil water dressing. I'll have to try that out. Just oil and
Classic.
water, huh?
Or oil and vinegar. Yes.
Ah, I
Yeah.
see.
There we go.
Yeah, we're making an emulsion here. Is really what's going on.
Delicious. Well, awesome. Well, how about we'll wrap up there. Thanks again so much, David, and thank you, PG, for joining us. on the Murder Museum.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having us. This was a blast. I've said it already a couple times. I just really, really enjoy listening to your show, and I have been thrilled to participate and excited that I didn't fall on my face.
Aw, shucks.
Yeah. I can't wait to come back and not solve some more murders.
Heck
But
yeah.
I'm really looking forward to having you guys come on our show as well.
Ah.
So listeners, make sure to check that out also.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, guys, and signing off.